I'm not gonna have nice things.
What?
I can fix that.
Same face, same actor, different movies, completely different human beings. How can the same actor feel romantic, terrifying, hilarious, and completely empty without accents, without prosthetics, without disappearing under extreme transformations? And here's the question nobody really asks. Why do directors trust Ryan Gosling to carry any movie, even ensemble films, without overpowering them?
You know, they say don't meet your heroes. I would say don't get punched by them.
This isn't a video about how many genres Ryan Gosling has done. Romance, crime, comedy, sci-fi. That list is easy. What's harder to explain is why he belongs in all of them. Why he never feels miscast. Why he never feels imposed on a movie. Why he never feels bigger than the film itself. Most stars carry a persona. You don't just watch the character, you watch the actor performing the character. Ryan Gosling does something different. Before we go any further, I'm curious, which Ryan Gosling performance surprised you the most? The one that made you pause and think, wait, that's the same guy? Drop it in the comments, because by the end of this video, you'll understand the invisible skill that makes directors trust Ryan Gosling with anything. On paper, this looks simple. Ryan Gosling has played a romantic lead, a silent criminal, a jazz musician, a Wall Street salesman, a sci-fi replicant. That kind of range is rare, but it's not unique. Plenty of actors genre hop, and none of it feels forced.
He has music in his bones.
He just launches and...
Here's what's strange. Most actors change how they look to prove range. Accents, weight loss, prosthetics, extreme transformations. Gosling doesn't. He stays recognizably himself. And yet, these performances don't feel related. That's why audiences met different versions of him first. Some met him as the romantic icon. Others first saw the quiet driver. Some thought he was a serious indie actor. Others only noticed him when he started being funny. And depending on that order, he feels like a completely different actor. But here's the mistake. We assume the characters are different. That's only half true. That argument only works if you ignore the genres. These movies don't just feel different, they require opposite acting instincts. What works in romance fails in sci-fi. What works in comedy ruins drama. What works in realism dies in satire. And yet, he moves between them effortlessly.
And he just randomly selected papyrus, like a thoughtless child.
So yes, Ryan Gosling is a genre chameleon. That part is obvious. But here's the truth most breakdowns stop short of. Genre hopping is the least interesting thing about him. Because switching genres is easy. Switching how you exist on screen is not. And that's where this actually starts to get interesting. Because it isn't about what he plays, it's about how little he needs to do to make it work.
God, you look incredible.
Well, can I say the kid's a genius?
Thank you for making me laugh.
He's not a musician, but he's musical.
And why sometimes, the most difficult acting choice is doing almost nothing at all. Ryan Gosling is often described as too quiet or too still. But these words miss the point. Quiet acting isn't passive, because in film acting, stillness is not absence, it's control. Watch what he doesn't do in this scene from Drive. No speech, no explanation, no emotional signaling, just a pause. A look held half a second too long. A jaw that tightens. A breath that doesn't release. A decision forming behind the eyes. And somehow, you understand everything. Critics have noted that in Drive, Gosling communicates more with a look than most actors do with full monologues. That isn't underacting, that's restraint. Film acting isn't theater. The camera doesn't reward effort, it rewards precision. and Gosling understands that less movement creates more gravity. In First Man, he plays Neil Armstrong as emotionally sealed. Some viewers called it cold, but that's the point. Armstrong didn't process grief outwardly, so Gosling doesn't perform grief. He contains it, and the camera does the rest.
Able to do it, it's like once you know someone has that capacity, then you kind of know that the potential is there.
And this is why his performances age well, because they aren't built on dialogue, they're built on observation. These scenes demand patience, from the actor, from the audience. And in a loud industry, that patience is rare. But here's what's important. Subtle acting proves control. It proves discipline and confidence. But it doesn't prove one crucial thing yet. Why do directors trust Ryan Gosling with anything? Subtlety explains how he holds the frame. It doesn't explain why he's allowed to bend it.
And Ryan Gosling.
Ryan.
And to understand that, we have to watch what happens when he lets go. There's a reason comedy exposes actors, more than drama, more than intensity, more than transformation. Great dramatic actors have failed here, some of the greatest of all time. Daniel Day-Lewis was never tested here. Al Pacino keeps failing the test. Even brilliant dramatic performers often freeze the moment timing replaces emotion, because comedy demands something drama never does, the willingness to lose. This shouldn't work. The guy from Drive falling apart like a cartoon character. But it does. Because Gosling isn't protecting dignity. He isn't trying to stay cool. He commits, fully. His Holland March is anxious, insecure, constantly unraveling.
Decided he was going to make me laugh every single day, no matter how extreme he had to be to get that laugh out of me.
Comedy works when the actor lets go of authority, and Gosling does something most movie stars won't. He makes himself the joke. Notice the pattern. He doesn't dominate the scene, he destabilizes it. Comedy isn't about winning the moment, it's about timing the fall.
And for being the greatest partner on this crazy adventure.
Then came Barbie, a role that could have been played ironically, detached, self-aware. Gosling does the opposite. He commits completely. No winking, no distance. He lets Ken be sincere, even when it's ridiculous. And here's where we return to the question. Why do directors trust Ryan Gosling with anything? Comedy answers part of it, because comedy proves something drama never can. That you'll look ridiculous if the movie needs it. That you won't protect your image at the expense of the scene.
And the same is true of Ryan, because he would do things with totally straight face and totally committed, and then he'd break himself based on what he was doing.
Because comedy proves you're not afraid to lose control. But losing control isn't the same thing as knowing when to give it away. And that is what we still haven't explained. To understand that paradox, we have to look at what isn't talked about. His preparation. When people talk about actor preparation, they usually mean extremes. Christian Bale losing 40 pounds. Daniel Day-Lewis staying in character even after cut. Stories so loud, they become the performance.
Everybody's daddy!
Ryan Gosling doesn't work like that. In fact, you almost never hear about his preparation at all. And that's exactly the point. Gosling doesn't advertise effort. He hides it. Because his preparation is designed to disappear.
And Ryan was learning piano for 4 months, so you have to have that kind of commitment.
For La La Land, Gosling didn't fake the piano, he learned it. Not to show off, but so that the camera wouldn't have to cheat. For Drive, he didn't just learn how to look convincing behind the wheel, he rebuilt the engine of the car himself. For The Big Short, he didn't just play a finance guy, he earned a real stockbroker's license. For Blue Valentine, he lived as the character, sharing a home before the camera ever rolled. But you never hear him talk about it, because unlike method mythology, his process isn't about intensity, it's about function. Every skill he learns serves one purpose, to make the performance invisible. This is why his performances feel effortless, not because they are, but because the effort is spent before the scene exists. And this matters more than it sounds, because preparation like this doesn't inflate ego, it deflates it. And when an actor stops trying to dominate scenes, something rare happens. They stop competing. Ensemble films are where actors get exposed, because ensembles expose ego. Who leads the scene? Who controls the rhythm? Who wins the moment? Ryan Gosling does something different. He gives power away. The Big Short is a perfect test case. 4 major stars, all having critical approval. 4 radically different acting styles. There is no main character to hide behind. Christian Bale disappears completely. Accents, mannerisms, physical transformation. Steve Carell burns with moral outrage. Brad Pitt underplays everything. Minimal screen time, maximum weight. And then there's Gosling. He doesn't try to compete. He becomes the mechanism. Gosling plays the least morally important role in the film. He's not the conscience. He's not the genius. He's not the emotional center. He's the translator. The one who keeps the movie moving without claiming authority over it. He explains. He provokes. He injects humor. And then he steps aside. Critics noticed this immediately. They didn't praise him for depth. They praised him for function, for making complexity watchable, for being magnetic without being admirable. That balance is incredibly rare. Now look at The Nice Guys. Same principle, different genre. Russell Crowe is solid, physical, dominant. Gosling doesn't push back. He collapses. He panics. He reacts. He lets himself look weak, which makes the pairing feel balanced instead of competitive. Most actors fight for status in duos. Gosling gives it away. And this pattern keeps repeating. In Crazy Stupid Love, he elevates Steve Carell. In La La Land, he creates the center space for Emma Stone. In Barbie, he amplifies the movie instead of hijacking it. Most stars treat ensembles or multi-lead movies like competitions. Ryan Gosling treats them like ecosystems to coexist. And once directors see that, they stop worrying about control.
Also grounded, so I had Ryan Gosling up there, and he is hilarious. I found that out through a meeting with him at my office. He left and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. That guy is crazy funny. He loved the fact that I will open up the script for improv a little bit. And you know, there's a moment in the movie where he screams, I'm jacked to the tits. And that was him just improvising and trying.
Hollywood trains actors to dominate frames, to command attention, to win scenes, to project power. Ryan Gosling does the opposite. He doesn't chase authority. He's comfortable without it. That's why he can be believable without being likable. Most leading men are built around assertion. They push the story forward. Gosling pulls something else off. He absorbs the story instead. Look at how he behaves inside scenes. When emotion rises, he lowers his voice. When the camera moves in, he keeps still. When a co-star expands, he contracts. That's not passivity, that's restraint. And restraint is a form of confidence most actors never develop. This is why Gosling doesn't feel like a traditional movie star. He knows when to step forward and when not to, when to hold the frame and when to empty it. That's why his performances feel different. Not because they're louder, but because they're calibrated. That's why he keeps getting the call. Not because he disappears, but because he never demands control. And remember the question we started with. Why did directors trust Ryan Gosling with anything? Comedy answered part of it. Ensembles proved another part. But the real reason is still ahead. So let's finally answer the question. The one we've been circling this entire time. Why do directors trust Ryan Gosling with anything? Not just genres, not just tones, not just ensembles, anything. It's not because he transforms the most. It's not because he's the loudest. It's not even because he's the most versatile. It's because Ryan Gosling understands what most actors never do. A film isn't built around a performance. A performance is built inside a film. He doesn't approach roles as opportunities to perform. He approaches them as problems to solve. Sometimes the movie needs desire. Sometimes it needs restraint. Sometimes it needs humor. Sometimes it needs emptiness. And Gosling adjusts accordingly, not just emotionally, structurally. He knows when to hold the frame and when to let it collapse around him. That's why the same face can feel romantic, terrifying, hilarious, and completely empty. Because he's not playing a personality, he's serving a function. Most movie stars impose themselves on films. They bend the movie around their identity. Gosling does the opposite. He lets the movie reshape him. He trusts the director. He trusts the edit. He trusts the audience. And that trust is rare. Because it requires ego to step aside. It requires patience. It requires the confidence to know that less will land harder. That's the invisible skill. And once a director realizes that, they stop worrying. Because an actor like that doesn't fight the movie, he completes it. Because you can turn an actor like that into anything. Hit the subscribe button if you want more films explained at this level. Not louder, not faster, just deeper.